maybe we can get the universe to flash into existence rapidly. So rapidly that billions of years will have passed and we'll have a fully formed world in front of us. Whoosh! And there, to flash a light.
Okay, on this video log, I'm going to talk about the universe or universes portrayed within two different speculative fiction series. So anyway, let's take a look at some speculative fiction, multiverse stuff, whatever.
Oh, we're gone. Peekaboo, and we're gone. Oh, yeah. Whatever. Prepare to get your freakiness card stamped.
Now, part of this, I've talked about this fan theory of mine once before when I was doing a live stream, so I'm basically going to recycle some of that footage from the live stream, but this is going to be a whole new video in a way. Basically, I'm going to talk about Star Trek in the Orville, the idea of Star Trek existing in the Orville. Now, this is a counter theory, because Egotastic FunTime, I like the Egotastic FunTime videos, so, check those out, look for them. I'll probably include maybe a card or whatever YouTube calls it, a little link to his video somewhere here, and if you're watching it on BitChute or DTube, I'll try to have links to Steemit articles and Wellshare articles that have links to this video. But Egotastic FunTime did a great video basically saying that Star Trek exists.
That's what I'm talking about right there!
As a TV show in the Orville universe. So, I have my own fan theory, which I think is a little bit more fun. Now, I think if any fan theory turns out to be true about this show, Egotastic FunTime's theory is going to be correct. But this is one I think is kind of fun. Some people might think it borderlines on the category of copyright infringement, but this fan theory could be done if kept vague. If vague, would remain a fan theory, although a borderline confirmed fan theory. Basically, instead of doing a video on how to redeem Star Trek Discovery that I was working on for a long time, I'm just going to talk about the Orville, and maybe I'll actually get this video done. And, well, my idea on what could be even better than Star Trek existing in the Orville as a TV series. And actually, both fan theories could coexist, but I'll get to that idea near the end.
It's like the only people that would care enough to give us a good new Star Trek show are making the Orville, and that's not part of the Star Trek multiverse. Oh, here's my fan theory. I wanted to do a fan theory. You see, Egotastic FunTime did a wonderful video with a fan theory that is more likely to be the accurate fan theory. His fan theory was that Star Trek exists as a TV show in the universe of the Orville.
I'll try to be your Obi-Wan however I can.
Well, one thought was you don't want to have Star Wars and not Star Trek, because that's just wrong. You end up with stuff like Star Trek Discovery in a universe like that, But also, like he referenced like episodes of Seinfeld that were featured in the Orville that they watched as television. Well, Seinfeld also referenced Star Trek movies at times, and it was like all these things that were just like 1 degree removed from talking about Star Trek. And I think his theory will eventually turn out to be correct, that Star Trek appears as fiction in the Orville universe. That said, I have a more fun theory that I wish would be the case, which they could do. This could be done if they reference things vaguely. What do I think is better than Star Trek existing as a fictional show in the universe of the Orville? If somehow they reference parallel universes that have been discovered, and one or two of them kind of line up with something that sounds an awful lot like Star Trek.
As it stands now, the Orville's physics, quantum fields versus subspace fields, difference of names, we're talking about a world that works a lot like Star Trek, and easily could be a parallel universe to the universes we've already seen as part of the Star Trek multiverse.
You know, somebody make a reference to starships with the the prefix USS, or make a reference to some sort of phased weapon technology, something that distinctly sounds like Star Trek. And then they say, you mean that other universe that was encountered by this ship? Then somebody else says, well, also that other ship. And then somebody else say, oh yeah, well, one of these ships, somebody else was a crewman on whatever ship, and they ended up in that universe for a little while too. Like some sort of little moment like that. To me, that would be even better than Star Trek showing up as a fictional show in the Orville, is if they treated it as a parallel universe. And they just made some sort of vague, non-committal, not really infringing on the copyright, but a reference that is like so very Star Trek sounding that they're basically treating Star Trek as a parallel universe. That's what I would like. That's my fan theory, that Star Trek is a parallel universe to the Orville. I think the Egotastic FunTime fan theory is more likely what'll, if any fan theory turns out to be true, I think that's the one that'll actually be true. And I like his videos, so go watch his stuff. Go watch some Egotastic FunTime, Or better yet, keep watching my stuff. Watch me here on YouTube or DTube. If you're going to upvote me on DTube, that'd be a nice bonus. Or DLive. BitChute. BitChute's great. Yeah, I love me some BitChute. There's some other places out there, I have all kinds of articles talking about my videos on Steemit and Whale Shares, other great sites that I like playing around with,
So go ahead and look for some of my other videos if you're interested. But wait, I'm not really done yet, am I?
Keep watching me here on YouTube and, whatever. But, I also recommend checking out Egotastic FunTime, because I like some of his videos and so forth. So anyway, that's my thought. That's my thought, is I have a counter fan theory to Egotastic FunTime's fan theory about Star Trek existing in the Orville universe. My counter fan theory is Star Trek existing as a parallel universe. And that's my fan theory. And while I think his fan theory is the one that's most likely to be confirmed true, if they ever give dialogue to indicate which fan theory could be true or false, I think that would be the one. But that said, it would be, what would be really fun is if it turned out both were true. If they made a reference to some TV show as having been considered fiction until they discovered it was actually true life in a parallel universe, that it was either an amazing coincidence or an act of almost like remote viewing, and then maybe reference like Star Trek and Babylon 5 and some other stuff like that, which would actually do both theories at the same time. You'd have Star Trek in the Orville universe and as a parallel universe. Just that the writers of Star Trek happen to be amazingly prophetic. That's an idea. Yeah, I like that theory. I like that.
Of course, I know this would never happen, but, a line of dialogue at some point that referenced parallel universes where Earth existed, but an entirely different alien species existed, and make one sound like Star Trek, one sound like Babylon 5. Maybe a reference to a parallel universe where Earth didn't exist and it sounded like a cross between Star Trek and Babylon 5, except without the humans. Some stuff like that, that'd be kind of like fun background, fun little details that I'd love to see in an episode of the Orville, because I think it would play off really nicely, would play off really well with how the Orville seems to parallel Star Trek in so many ways, and seems to be a quality Star Trek-like show, as opposed to Star Trek Discovery, which, we're all disappointed in. That this show is like a great TV show that feels like a parallel universe to Star Trek, and little lines of dialogue like that I think would actually be kind of fun to just insert the idea that this is part of a larger science fiction multiverse. And on top of that, it would start to become absurd that all these universes, there's one species they all have in common, which is humans. And of course, to us, the audience, realize, well, that's because we're humans writing fiction. But you could even play around with that idea a little bit too. Just a thought. Because the Orville is a really enjoyable science fiction show, and I've been enjoying the little bits of universe building, world building, only on a science fiction scale that we've seen in the show. But, it feels like it would be just perfect as a parallel universe to Star Trek. You can tell they're inspired by Star Trek of the late 1980s and early 1990s. And that's just great. That's great. It's worth saying that in my personal theory on how to redeem Star Trek Discovery, you can only do that by treating it as a parallel universe to existing Star Trek. The Orville does not need to be redeemed, but the Orville would make a great parallel universe next to the Star Trek multiverse. Yeah, it's not Star Trek, it's its own thing, but it belongs next to Star Trek.
But anyway, I've rambled on enough. Time for me to end this video. Oh, I think Star Trek Enterprise is on television. I want to go watch Star Trek Enterprise. Good old Star Trek Enterprise. Yes, I have it on DVD. I have a Blu-ray of the first season. I have everything else. I have seasons 1 through 4 on DVD. I can watch it on Netflix. When I sit down to eat, sometimes I put it on Netflix. But when it's on television, when it's on the Space Channel, yes, damn it, I watch Star Trek Enterprise. I'm off to watch Star Trek. Star Trek Enterprise. I'm gonna go watch me some Star Trek. So it's time for me to end this video. Yeah. All right, anyway, if anybody enjoyed this enough to watch it, that'd be cool. Sometimes there's some cool people out there on the internet that, watch my stuff, and I really appreciate that, And then there's some people that just watch with a psychotic glare. They just stare and hate, and they're also out there too. So whoever you are, keep on watching, All right, well, if you see any other videos pop up on the screen here, if you're watching it on YouTube, then feel free to click on some of my links and so forth. And if you're not watching it on YouTube, then you might not have that option. If you're watching it on BitChute, then another video will play after so long, I think automatically, unless you turn off that option.